Welcome back to the Nick Bartlett Show, everybody. And guess what? The Pac-12 has a team in the college football playoff. As it stands today. It is great to see the Oregon Ducks at that number 4 spot. The Pac-12 getting some respect. Anyways, guys, like I said, welcome back to the Nick Bartlett Show. For those of you who don't know who I am by now, my name is Nick Bartlett, and I'm the broadcast manager here at Sports Pac-12, as well as the staff writer at OregonSportsNews.com. I've had my articles published in the Seattle PI, on a Go Local PDX, and a variety of other websites. So I've been around a little bit. I've been around this game, but in all seriousness, if you're new to the show, this is going to be a show breaking down Pac-12 football. And if you've been here for a while, we're doing the real normal standard running things today. We're going to be doing our breakdown game of the week. That's obviously going to be Oregon versus Washington. We're going to follow that up with our quick previews where I'm going to break down all the games in conference. And as always, guys, we are ending today's show with Bartlett's random topic of the day. So whether you're a long-time watcher, viewer, subscriber, whatever you call it, motorcyclist, biker, or you're new to this show, thank you for tuning in. And let's get straight to the action now. We got the Oregon-Washington matchup, always big, maybe a little bit less exciting this year because of, obviously, Washington's fall off a little bit. But either way, let's get to the notes and see what I got on the agenda. So yeah, kind of what I said from the start there. To me, this game feels like a little bit of a letdown, but at the same time, it is also very intriguing. And the main reason for me is I really want to see if Oregon can just do it. And what I mean by that is it feels like Ducks teams over the last 5 years, obviously Mario Cristobal has had a phenomenal tenure so far. Maybe not phenomenal. He's done some things. But it feels like they've just lost random games like these. Oregon on paper, before we get into the deep notes, is obviously more talented than UW. And I just want to make sure they don't blow it like they did against ASU a couple of years ago. And this is one they can't lose. UW is not UW. And for me, that's all I want to see is Oregon go out there, handle their business, and represent the Pac-12, because we really need some representation right now. All right. Got anything else on here? Yeah, no. Wow, guys. Looks like that was actually exactly what was on the notes pretty much. Maybe not exactly. That was such a lie, guys. It was a little off. But so even though I think the main thing to really focus in on in this matchup, like I just stated, is will Oregon look like the number 4 team in the country? Will they come out? Will Anthony Brown be firing? Will Travis dive some nice running lanes? Will some receivers step up? And can they really just handle their business and play a complete game? No more random interceptions like we had from Anthony Brown against UCLA. Things like that. Random fumbles. Just slow starts. Things that Oregon is better than and more capable of. And at this point in the season, no excuse for penalties. Really should be no excuses from the beginning of the season, the way I view sports. But definitely no excuses late in the season. So I just want to make clear before I get into the stats, that is what I want to see in this game, is how for real is Oregon. They just earned the awesome ranking, but now let's back it up. Let's put your rivals in a place they don't want to be. Let's embarrass them on national TV. How about that? All right, guys. So again, I am going to give you some stats because I know this is important to the fan bases out there, and it may be kind of important a little bit, just a little bit. But what I said there stands. I just want to see Oregon come out and dominate, basically. Dominate. So yeah, for the Ducks, essentially everything starts with their rushing attack. Ever since CJ Verdell's injury, Travis Dye has been absolutely everything. I call him a Dr. Bronner product. That's like if you are into like kind of like I guess natural products, you can buy like Dr. Bronner soap, and that thing can be used for like toothpaste and like clean the floors and clean the toilet and maybe like mouthwash. Obviously that's an exaggeration, but you get what I'm saying. And that's what Travis Dye has been to the Ducks since CJ Verdell went out. I mean, he's catching passes, he's running the ball. He's not putting up huge numbers in terms of yardage, but he is finishing a lot of with a lot of touchdowns, and he's really been propelling the Ducks just with his dual threat ability, and that's been cool to see. So his actual stats do read since, in his last 3 outings, he's rushed for 7 touchdowns, over 200 yards, and he's also added He's also added just over 200 receiving yards and another touchdown in that same time frame. So I struggled a little bit there. That statistics. Let me clear that up for you. In the last 3 outings, he's rushed for 7 touchdowns and over 200 yards, and he's also added about 200 receiving yards and another touchdown in that same time frame. So again, just really phenomenal dual threat. And this should prove very well for him because the Huskies defense is allowing 178 rushing yards per game on the ground. I believe that's 9th in the conference, 9th worst in the conference. You know what I'm saying? And really, this is, again, we've harped on it in previous weeks, but this isn't the same Huskies team you may remember. The secondary is still phenomenal. We'll get to that in a point. Probably the best secondary still in the Pac-12. But at the same time, they don't have that physicality up front. I'm not sure if that's because of the preseason injury to ZTF or what it is exactly, but they've just lacked it. And it's not looked good, guys. It's not looked good. So again, Travis Dye should really be able to take advantage of a Husky defense that is allowing 178 rushing yards per game. What else do we got, guys, in terms of the notes here? We got... Yeah, so essentially, I mean, same thing. Just kind of hitting on there is that UO really does want to control the game with the ground because if they don't, the Huskies secondary is still amazing. That was Jimmy Lake's MO, and it's the one thing that he can really hang his hat on as a head coach thus far. The rest of the dogs really aren't playing that well. If you had a chance to watch them, I'm not going to go too into that. We'll hop into that in a bit. But essentially, if Oregon can really attack the ground and open up some holes up front, it should loosen up a very good dog secondary, and I think that will be Oregon's plan of attack here. And it shouldn't be too much to ask because they're averaging just over 200 yards a game on the ground as a team. And again, with Huskies allowing 178, you got one of the best rushing attacks in the conference in Oregon and one of the worst rush defenses in the Pac-12 in UW, and that just seems like a surefire recipe for success for the Ducks. It may look easier on paper because obviously if I'm able to predict this, if I'm able to call all this stuff, you'd think UW would shift their attention this week in the training camps. But either way, just you would think that Oregon, if Oregon is the number 4 team in the country, should be able to dominate a Huskies team up front, who again is one of the worst in the conference in stopping the run. On the other notes here, guys, if you are new to the show, one of my main goals is I want to be out of here in 25 minutes. You got a life, I got a life, blah, 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 if you're the spiel. But seriously, I value your time. Hopefully you value my time if you know me. You know what I'm saying? That was just a weird statement, guys. But in all seriousness, I'd like to get you out of here in 25 minutes or less. That's my goal. Last week I held you here for 30, so sorry, guys. I'll do my best to speed it up a little bit this week. Maybe. No, I'll get you out by 25 this week. So one thing I did want to say about Anthony Brown is that I think he is a little bit overrated. I was wrong a little bit earlier in the year. I hopped on the Brown train maybe a little bit too early after that Ohio State victory. In his last 5 outings, the statistics do look good. But if you look a little bit closer, they actually don't look that good, and he's not played that well. You just got to kind of look at the statistics a little closer, and here's what I mean here. So in his last 5 outings, he's thrown for 1,250 yards, approximately 1,250 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. So that looks pretty good, right? I mean, even with those questionable interceptions against UCLA that almost cost them the game, those stats look pretty good, and you're thinking, hey, man, he may have had 1 or bad 2 throws, but this isn't necessarily the case. So when you look a little bit deeper here, 6 of those touchdown passes came against Colorado and Arizona. So do the math. The other 3 games, he has 1 touchdown pass and 3 interceptions. So I don't give credit to a guy who can beat up on some of the worst teams in the conference. Granted, Colorado's defense is good, but I believe Nate Landman was out for that matchup. And, you should be doing that anyway, Anthony Brown. I don't really care that you threw for 300 yards against freaking Colorado last week. You didn't deserve Player of the Week if you got it. That's all I'm saying. But, again, so if you look at his stats in the last 5 outings, they look good, but diving a little bit closer, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions against Arizona and Colorado. And you subtract that number, he has 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions in the other 3 games. So that's just really not good. Anything else on stats there? Nah. That's it for stats today, guys. I don't want to overdo it. I think what I said at the top stands. If there's anything else I want to add to this game, I'm going to take a quick peek at my notes here. Yeah, essentially, I did want to hate on UW a little bit, but I understand this is a really big game for the Pac-12, so I'll actually give you a quick information. I've had the chance to see them a couple of times this year, and they just don't look that good. Dylan Morris, the quarterback, seems to have fallen off. They had so many receivers transfer out before the year. They haven't really had anyone step in to fill the role. Essentially, Terrell Bynum, I believe, has been their best guy at wideout. But besides for that, I might have mispronounced that name. But besides for that, they've just really looked bad. Sean McGrew doesn't really look like a threat at halfback. They haven't really had a consistent threat at halfback. And again, on defense, they're allowing holes on the ground game. Secondary's been very good. That's the one thing they can hang their hat on, but just nothing consistent. And they played absolutely terrible against Stanford last week. Just an embarrassing outing for the Pac-12. One of the ugliest wins probably in college football history. I mean, if Huskies don't score that touchdown at the end there, ooh, that's a tough one. But just a bad game all around. I know both teams wanted it. I know David Shaw was fighting hard, but still just such a bad game. And for UW, this outing for them, we spent a lot of time talking about Oregon. I know my people up here in Seattle. I live in Seattle. Didn't go to UW. Don't get it twisted. Not a Husky fan. If you've been watching the show for a while, you know what school I went to. But again, for all the people up here in Seattle, I think what we need to see is we need to see the Dogs compete. And they need to compete and look good. They need to fight. UW is still one of the best programs in the Pac-12. Maybe not like you. Maybe they've fallen into that USC train recently come back. But for the Pac-12 to be good, we're always going to need a Seattle. We're always going to need a LA. And whether Ducks fans like to hear it or not, the Seattle and LA markets are probably going to hold more weight over Eugene always and forever, even though the Ducks football program is bounds and leaps in years. I'm trying to think of a more fancy cliche, but they're light years ahead of USC and Washington in terms of their play on the field. But we do need those big markets for the Pac-12, especially since ASU's been falling off. So for Seattle and UW, they just need to compete on a national stage and show that they're kind of relevant. Again, for Oregon, I said it at the top. That's how I started, and that's how I'll end it. Look like a darn college football team. Go out there and stomp the Huskies. Represent our conference well, because as it currently stands, I don't believe we have anyone else ranked in the top 25. Actually, is Utah in there? My bad. I think Utah may be in there. Utah should be in there. But besides for that, it's looking really abysmal, and Oregon is our one hope. That victory in the shoe is still holding weight. But outside of that, it's not looked good. I mean, it's just not looked good. The Ducks haven't looked that consistent. And this is a really big opportunity on a national stage to put it to the rivals who are struggling and really maybe not blow them out because it is a rivalry game, but win comfortably and represent the Pac-12 well and hold on to that number 4 spot. Yeah. So that's going to do it for my Game of the Week preview there. I'm pretty excited to watch this matchup. Again, I didn't go to either school, but if you follow the Pac-12, you know this is a really big game. It's really probably the pinnacle rivalry up here in the Northwest, so should be a lot of fun. Now we are on to the quick previews. That was just a singy song or something. So, guys, okay, whatever I just said there. So for the quick previews, we got Utah at Stanford. Okay, I actually need to look at my notes. What did I write about this game? Yeah, for Stanford, essentially, they're just looking bad. That loss to UW last week really hurt them. I think that essentially this team is no longer anything. They're in complete rebuild mode. They're one of the worst teams in the Pac-12, and Stanford has completely fallen off that wagon, and that loss to UW signifies that last week. Speaking of Utah over here, ever since Cameron Rising took over, they've looked really phenomenal. Huge bounce back win, or not a bounce back win, but just a phenomenal win for them last week. And I actually don't have any jokes about this game. I really think it's cool to see Utah stepping up again. Maybe they can actually create some kind of matchup with Oregon at the end of the year. That should be fun for a championship type game. Never count out Kyle Whittingham and the Utes, longtime best coach in the Pac-12, and should be a lot of fun to watch. And I got Utah beating Stanford 23-17. I'm surprised he called it that close. Yeah, I'll stick with it. Utah 23-17. David Shaw's teams usually play tough defense. Next game we got Cal versus Arizona. I don't really want to talk about this game. I'm picking Cal 31-13, but I'll give you a little love, guys. I'm not gonna be that greasy. I just want to say for Cal, Chase Garbers is definitely the best quarterback in the Pac-12, and because of the way they've been playing recently with that nice upset against Oregon State last week, they actually have a chance to make a bowl game. And looking at their schedule, they do have a couple winnable victories, but it all starts here against Arizona. They win here, they're back to 4-5, and then you're just one game back away from 500. And it wasn't too long ago that the Golden Bears were sitting 1-5. For the Wildcats, I mean, just compete. Like I just said about the Huskies, but like they're so bad, and they just need to do something. They just need to do something. This is one of those games from a talent standpoint. They may have a small chance. Not really any chance if we're being quite frank, but more so than if they're playing Oregon. But they're not going to do it. Chase Garbers still the best quarterback in the Pac-12, and I picked Cal 31-13. I already said that. Sorry for just wasting 2 minutes of your life, guys. I really shouldn't have previewed that. After I previewed it, I instantly regretted it. I should have just went with my gut there. How long are we into the show? I promise you less than 25 minutes. 16 minutes, guys! Woo! We're on it today. We are on the ball today, baby. That's good stuff. Take a deep breath, no rush. Get through this quick preview, stretch out. You know what I'm saying? Do a little yoga. Oh, is that yoga? Bro, yoga's hard, man. I actually tried that once or twice. I think I hurt myself, man. Got a lot of respect for those guys and gals who do that. Next game is going to be Oregon State and Colorado. Essentially here, I just want to say I'm actually done hating on Brendan Lewis. And I'm going to shift my attention to head coach Carl Durrell. I don't understand why he's starting Brendan Lewis still. And I've always understood building for the future. I get that when you have a struggling team, but Colorado has enough pieces around their squad that if you have a better quarterback than him on your roster, you need to get them out there. Remember, Colorado and Sam Neuer last year pulled some pretty cool things off. And I don't know the situation with Colorado's offensive line specifically, but they still and always have had enough talent at the receiver position, at the running back position. Pretty solid defense. You got obviously Nate Landman, Carson Wells. I mean, they're a solid team all around, but this quarterback situation is just so abysmal. And again, I don't know if the offensive line is absolutely terrible. I think I've only seen one or two Colorado games in its entirety from start to finish. So it could just be a line situation. But if it's not, they need to get him out of there. I'm tired of watching a team just basically give up, and that's what it feels like. It feels like the Buffs are absolutely done and have been done for a long time. And again, I understand building for the future, but not sacrificing the present. For the Beavers, just a bounce-back game. Again, that tough loss to Cal last week, but luckily for them, they're playing Colorado. I actually think they could lose this game again if Carl Durrell wanted to make it. If they have a better quarterback, or just try something different, please. But bottom line, when you're looking at this matchup, I think the talent gap may be closer than people realize, but you have one team, the Buffs, who absolutely have no belief in themselves right now, and the Beavers who still have a lot of beliefs in themselves. And I'm picking the Beavs in this one, and I'm picking them 28-14. Next game we're going to be talking about here is Oregon at Washington. I already gave you my long preview. I did not pick the game for sure. Didn't give you my preview for a reason, but I am picking the Ducks by 13, 34-21. I'm not going to talk about this game any guys more. What the heck? I just slurred that whole sentence. Maybe I chugged like a 40 before this. I'm not going to spend any more time on this game. But Ducks 34-21 in the game of the week. And rounding out our slate, we got USC at ASU. And I'm picking ASU 31-28. I think I wrote some notes. I'll probably look at them in a little bit. But to be perfectly honest, this is one of those games that any analyst or someone who's covering sports, unless they have a really deep dive or feel for one of these teams, and it's like their like full livelihood, spending their whole 40 hours a week watching one team, covering one team, this is a crapshoot. USC and Dante Williams, they've looked pretty bad under him. I don't think that Dante Williams is the right man for the job. He just looks like he wants things to go right rather than kind of know they will. That's not going to work at USC. I just don't think he's the confidence coach at USC. Maybe a Loyola and Marymount type guy. Sorry if that hurt your feelings. Your team's been looking like crap. Play better. For ASU, they got absolutely dominated by the Cougs last week. That just made no sense. That made no sense. It hurt the Pac-12 big time. It really hurt the Pac-12. But I don't really know what to say about that. That just threw me off a little bit. I want to believe that was just an aberration. They had they had at least 2 first quarter turnovers and maybe 3. They had like a fumble in the first play or something along those lines. So I'm hoping that was an aberration because ASU is still a phenomenally talented team and they can make the chase fun with them in Utah in the South. And maybe if UCLA wants to do something. So again, this one I'm picking ASU 31-28. Don't really have a reason, and I'd be lying to you if I said I did. All right, guys, that is actually it for our quick previews. And wow, baby, we're on just such a good time frame. I'm like shocked by this. Usually I have to like rush a minute or two. So we're gonna end today's episode as always with Bartlett's random topic of the day. Last week I got like super emotional. Not really. I just talked about my dad and I's connection with The Simpsons and how I thought it was a good show. So this week I want to go completely random, take a left turn, a right turn, straight up to outer space or something along those lines. And I'm actually going to talk about eating. And I don't know if I want to call it eating healthy, but just not falling into what society tells you. Society tells you like you need to eat keto, you need to cut out carbs entirely. You cannot eat meat. You cannot have a beer. And if you've been listening like to my podcast before it became a YouTube show, I had probably touched on the subject before, so sorry for the retread, but I wanted to do it once in the show. I feel like I've learned a couple more principles, and yeah, so I just want to, sorry if it's a little bit of retread for my longtime viewers. Won't happen again, guys. Won't happen again. But all right, in all seriousness, 3 simple principles. 1, under eating, and I'm not gonna make this a lengthy freaking thing. I'm not a doctor. I consider myself a healer, but maybe not a doctor. But the 3 principles essentially. 1, under eating. If you're cutting an entire food group out of your freaking body, it's probably not good for you. And again, a lot of people cut carbohydrates out of their body because they think it's bad for you. Plain and simple, dude. Eat some rice, eat some beans, eat some quinoa, eat some whole wheat bread. It's not rocket science. It's really not rocket science. And eliminating entire food groups, whether it's meat, I mean, I guess if you want to be a vegan or vegetarian for religious reasons, I completely understand. You're going to have to find ways to supplement B12. Maybe a shot or something would help. But again, like if you're going to be cutting out entire groups of food, it's probably not good for your body and you don't want to undereat. Like I know those like Victoria's Secret models, they're like 8-pack skinny, like may look good, but that's probably not healthy. And me personally, I'm a single guy out here, you know what I'm saying? Like I may like a girl with a little extra weight. Ain't not wrong with a few extra pounds. Next thing, overeating while we're talking about a few extra pounds. It's simple, guys. It's so easy, and I don't want to, again, just like go into some super long spiel. It's just so easy. For example, when you go to Red Robin, if you get the barbecue whiskey river burger, the barbecue whiskey river burger, order of fries and a beer, it's going to ring you up about 1,500 calories. And I want to make clear that there is nothing wrong with doing that from time to time. Nothing. It's actually good for your soul, your body, your mind, your spirit to treat yourself from time to time. Maybe even once a day in moderation. If you're that disciplined, good for you. But just be cognizant of it. That's all it is. I'm not here to lecture you. Just be cognizant of it. Because those 1,500 calories right there, that's not including the dipping sauces, the extra order of fries you're about to eat, and maybe an extra beer. Then all of a sudden you just consumed a day's worth of calories in one meal. And it's just so easy to do. And it's even easy to do with healthy food. Like I may used to eat those Red Robin burgers too, but like even like nuts, like you'd be eating some almonds or something. The serving size is 1 handful. So if you have 5 handfuls, all of a sudden you've like snapped down an entire meal's worth of calories. Just like that. And it's so simple. So just be cognizant. Not here to lecture you. You can do it with unhealthy food. You can do it with healthy food. Overeating is very simple to do. And I'm thinking that we're getting to the end of the show here. Yes, we are, guys. We're getting to that time. Last principle I want to get to here is essentially just eat what you want and be reasonable. Eat what you want, not what you think you should. Eating what you think you should puts yourself in a food prison. It puts you in some like weird ideology, like you're on a diet. No, you're not. You're just being a little more conscious about what you eat. So don't put yourself in that food prison. Don't fear food. Food is about love. It's about connection. It's about family. It's about getting together. It's about all that. So don't fear something so delicious and so beautiful as food, man. For real. And don't let the media do that to you. All food is good as balance. All food is good as moderation. Eat meats. Eat fruit. Eat veggies. Eat pasta. Do what you think. Just eat in balance and do your best to make sure it's a high quality product. It's not that simple. Or it's that simple. And make darn sure, now I'm struggling, and make darn sure to treat yourself from time to time. That's a biggie. Make darn sure to treat yourself from time to time. If anyone tells you otherwise, I don't know what kind of doctor they consider themselves to be. And, all right, guys, I do want to wrap up the show. I'm thinking we're just about there. So thank you guys for tuning in as always. Seriously, it is much appreciated. It is much, much appreciated. And to conclude and summarize today's episode, we started off with our game of the week, in which I took a deep dive on the Oregon-Washington matchup. And essentially, I just want to see the Ducks come out and play and represent their number 4 spot in the college football ranking. We followed that up with our quick previews of all the games in conference. And then I ended with Bartlett's random topic of the day, which just don't fear food, guys. Love food. Food is meant to be loved. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. We are in the last 4 weeks, something like that, of the college football season. This is when it gets good, guys. This is when things really matter. This is when playoff positions start shifting. Should be a lot of fun. I'm very excited for this Washington-Oregon matchup this week. Hope you guys are as well. Could be a couple other fun ones out there. So, again, thank you for tuning in. I'm out. Olive oil and hummus.